Have you ever promised yourself that you wouldn't move that stop, but then you moved it twice? Well, in this episode, we're going to be unpacking why smart traders break their rules.
Yeah, if you ever felt like there's two different people trading on your account, there's the disciplined trader, and then there's the one that just says just this once, then this episode is for you.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Forex. I'm Alison, and as always, I'm joined by Chris. How's it going, Chris?
Still very much summertime here in Portugal, so I've been enjoying being out and about in the sunshine. Yeah, I can't really complain. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, especially when I look at the weather in London. One of my friends was up in Edinburgh actually over the weekend. It was about like 10 degrees and raining. I was like, oh gosh, so glad I don't live in the UK anymore.
Oh, it hit early, hey?
Yeah, I know it does. It gets cold. It gets cold up north very quickly. So yeah, no complaints from me. I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, also great. I must say Port Alfred is treating us well. Yeah, I've been to the beach, done some beach walks. Absolutely beautiful this side. Yeah, we really, really are enjoying Port Alfred. Beautiful river.
And it's officially spring now as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Although it's pretty chilly today. It's quite grey. But yeah, I must say it's very comfortable. So I can't complain.
Right. So today we're actually going to be tackling one of the most expensive problems in trading for many traders. And this is rule breaking, in particular, breaking your own rules. So we're not going to be talking about market noise. We're not talking about anything to do with spreads or anything to do with strategy. It's really just you. It's us traders. That's what we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah, so today we're going to be getting into the psychology of why you break your rules, the tripwires that set us off, and then we're going to give you a practical step-by-step reset so that you can finish this episode with a plan and not just the guilt.
So let's start with why we break the rules. So this is the psychology behind it. We're not going to go into huge detail, but there's an uncomfortable truth, and this is that your rule set, anything you do is, when you're trading, it competes with your brain's reward system. Your markets offer variable rewards. Sometimes you break a rule and you're rewarded with a win. And then that trains the brain to go, oh, that's great. Let's do that again. It's like a gambling win. It's that little serotonin boost that makes you feel good.
Exactly. And if you add stress and uncertainty to that, that actually narrows your working memory. And what you'll find then is suddenly your carefully crafted plan loses the argument in those scenarios. And then, of course, we can sprinkle in the classics, the FOMO, when you have found a trade that's running without me and you suddenly get on it only to realize that you got on an exhaustion candle and it's about to turn around. Loss aversion, obviously, the fact that the pain from losses is worse than the pleasure of the equivalent gain. So that's quite an interesting concept as well. And it often drives a lot of very bad trading. Then the sunk cost or chasing losers. So I've already lost one R. I now have to make it back. So you move your stop. Then overconfidence after a win streak. I think that's a very big one. And I think that one doesn't actually get talked about enough. You start to say, I can handle more size and I can handle more trades, and you just start to make really bad decisions. And then ego protection. So, if you move the stop, it keeps you right. So it means that even though the trade's starting to turn and you've noticed all those signs, you just don't want it to hit that stop quite yet. And again, when you start to move your stop, you start to get into perilous territory.
Yeah, and I think that last one you mentioned there as well, Alison, ego protection is a really big one that's not talked about enough either. A lot of traders, they're very confident people. We're very sure of ourselves. And we know we're intelligent. We know we're good at what we do. And when you get it wrong, that can really hurt. Yeah. So you didn't break the rules because you're weak. You broke the rules because you've been outgunned by your biology, by these well-wired human instincts. And especially, as you said, in this high-stress, variable reward environment.
Which I guess is good news in a way, because it means that we can then out-design the problem. And I guess the first way to do this is to acknowledge that if it's not written down, it's not a rule. And I think that's a very, very important point for traders.
Absolutely. And I think everybody listening to this, you need to do a quick audit. Are your rules actually written down? Are they unambiguous? And are they visible while you trade? If not, then they're just intentions. They're not rules.
And a rule passes 3 tests. So even though you think you might have written a rule, number 1, is it clear? For example, if I look at some of the trade ideas or trade rules that I've seen, enter only on a 5-minute pullback to a VWAP with the bullish engulfing candle, with the RSI above 50. That's a very clear entry signal. You basically want to buy on strength. Number 2, what's the context? And I think this is this is something a lot of traders miss. For example, don't trade in the middle of a trading day where price is just chopping around. Look at the London Open, for example, and look at it maybe before US data. Make sure that you get the context right. Don't just trade whenever you think you might be seeing a signal. And then what are your constraints? Only risking a certain amount per trade, a certain percent of your trading capital. If you hit a certain loss limit, stop trading for the day. All these need to be written down.
Yeah. And if your rule can't be falsified, so if you can't look at the chart later and say, okay, that violated rule 3, then it's not enough, and it's not going to restrain you in the heat of the moment while you're trading.
So next you want to find your tripwire or look for your trigger. And for 1 week, what you can do is log 4 different columns. So the first column could be the situation. The next one could be the thought. The next one could be the action. And then you could have the outcome as the 4th column. And then you want to tag each situation with a trigger. For example, did you experience FOMO, revenge, boredom, overconfidence? Did you trade with fear? Did your ego come into it? Then you want to log your action. What did you do in that circumstance? Did you move your stop? And of course, then you want to log the outcome. Because even if you moved your stop and the trade then went in your direction, as you said earlier, Chris, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're training your mind to be disciplined when it does move in your direction. You actually have a counter effect on your trading and on your discipline.
Yeah, and if you do this, you'll see patterns will jump out very quickly. So maybe you break the rules after 2 small losses, or when you're up too early and you start, trading too much. The trigger will tell you what you need to fix.
Yeah, it's a very, very effective way of figuring out your trading psychology. Then we get the Fix-Toolbox. You can then create a system that, I guess, beats your biology or your psychology.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're going to run through these. So the first thing you want to talk about, the first thing that you want to have is a pre-trade checklist. And I think there's something we've talked about before, but it's really important. So you want to check, is the market context aligned with your strategy? Is your setup actually present, right? It's not approximated here. Is your setup really there? Don't lie to yourself. Is your risk defined? Have you got your entry? Have you got stop? Have you got your risk reward ratio? Have you got your target? Have you checked for the news risks, events, what's happening in the background here, what's happening in the fundamentals? And is your position size set to your rules? You haven't added a last second bump just because you really think this is going to be good this time.
Absolutely. That's very, very important. Your if-then plans. So these are your implementation intentions. So for example, if price runs without me, I skip the trade and I tag FOMO in the journal. You don't jump onto the trade. If I hit 2R on that day, I close the platform and do a 10-minute review. No exceptions. I don't try to get on the next trade. Number 3, if I move a stop once, for example, then I must exit half immediately. If I want to move it again, I exit the rest. So have these if-then scenarios written down somewhere so that you know that you're not going to perform that action if you experience that situation or that emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. And the third thing here is you want to automate this discipline. This is really important. So you want to use bracket orders. So an OCO order, the one cancels the other. It's really important here. So your stop and your target are placed automatically. You also, if you can, you want to set a platform level max daily loss. These aren't native to most platforms, so they're not native to MT4, MT5 or CTrader or TradingView. But what you can do is you can install bots or algos, or even write the script yourself. I mean, just ask ChatGPT. It'll write the script for you. And you can install that into your platform. And then your platform will it'll shut down. When it hits, the platform will block new orders for that day. And you want to limit orders only for entries if you chase. So remove the market order buttons from your toolbar. toolbar, sorry. And I think that's a really powerful one.
And that sort of ties into adding friction to bad decisions. So, for example, make it harder for you to perform these bad actions. Remove the trading app from your phone during your session. Hide your real-time P&L and display your R multiples instead, for example. And then use laminated rule cards on your desk. So have those rules ready and available. For example, you may force yourself to tick 3 pre-trade boxes before you place an order to make sure that your conditions are met before you jump into a trade.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I like that a lot because it means that you actually have to take action in the real world, not just on your screen. And you say, yes, I am doing this. And it forces you to think about those. It forces you to think about those rules and actually put that tick box to it. I think this can be a very powerful, as you say, add friction to bad decisions. And the fifth thing here is you want to think about your time and you want to think about your environment. So you want to trade only your best session. So put a hard end time in your calendar, right? Don't overtrade. Don't start earlier or keep it going later. You also want to really think about having a really clean chart template. I do this a lot. I mean, I see, especially a lot of beginners who've discovered technical analysis and get really excited. They've got like an indicator zoo, right? All over. And what this does is you start seeing patterns where they don't exist. It invites a rationalization that you really don't need. So try and keep your chart as clean as possible.
Absolutely. No, I think that's really good advice. And also in terms of your support and resistance levels, I see so many traders have so many different lines on there, and it just becomes very chaotic, very confusing. And it, as you said, it just throws your trade ideas out the window, actually. Then you want to review what matters. So you want to create a weekly scoreboard, look at how many times or what % you actually adhere to your rules. You want to look at how many your average R multiples that were compliant versus those that you won that weren't compliant, as we were saying, when you win a trade, even though you're not following your rules. And then you look at your triggers encountered and, what responses you used, and your if-then checklist as well.
Yeah, and maybe like tie rewards to adherence to your rules. So treat a rule-compliant break-even as a win, but then treat a profit with broken rules as a loss. Your trading behavior here, you're not chasing that dopamine spike. You're not chasing this little hit that's going to make you feel better.
And then accountability helps so much to have a post-session, sort of look at what happened with somebody that's in the same situation as you, maybe trading the same instruments or trading the same time of day. Talk to them about what rules you followed, what rules you broke, what you could do differently tomorrow. And it's really interesting. I mean, we know that accountability generally works, but it's interesting what rules you won't break when you know that you've got to talk to somebody about it.
It's similar to ticking off that box in the checklist. You've kind of made it real. You've put it out there in the world. It's not just an idea on paper anymore. Really important as well, emotional reset. Is something we've talked about, Alison. Stand up, take a lap of the room, go outside for a couple minutes, touch the grass, as the kids say these days. And then reassess, right? These little micro resets, they'll prevent the big mistakes.
And, with trading, I think even if you just improving one thing a week or one thing a month, and every month or every week you add one thing that you can focus on and improve, eventually you will just become a better trader automatically. And you'll notice that you're not making the same mistakes that you did before and that you've trained your discipline and you've trained yourself to follow your plan. So there are 3 quick wins that you could deploy today. So firstly, one of the biggest things is create your trading rules. Put a card in front of you and write down the 5 parts of your plan that you're not going to break, 5 rules that you're not going to break. Then use your OCO brackets and a daily loss cap. I think that's also very important. It's something that you can almost automate so that even if you're wanting to move stops or you're wanting to change your entry, that you don't do that. And then when you're scoring how well you did, score your adherence. Don't just score your P&L. Your P&L will come once you've worked on your discipline. And try this for the next 5 sessions. Try this just for 5 sessions and see what happens. You'll feel different.
Yep. Yeah, and you'll trade different. And if you want extra credit, you can record like a 60-second post-session voice note to yourself. And yeah, that's kind of free coaching to hear yourself talk about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess as we wrap up, it's important to note that, we all break our rules. It doesn't mean that you're a hopeless trader because you break your rules. Even the greats have broken their rules many times. You basically break them because your current environment makes breaking them so easy. So what you want to do is make it harder to break your own rules.
Yeah, exactly. And change your environment, change your headset, make the right action obvious, the wrong action difficult, and measure more of what you want more of. That's how well you're going to follow these rules. That's really, really the important thing here.
So that's it for this episode or this week's episode of Let's Talk Forex. If you enjoyed it, please remember to subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and give us a thumbs up too.
Yeah, superb. Sounds good, Alison. And I'll speak to you next week.
Cool. Cheers, Chris.